Hey everyone, it's Rob the Backyard Gardener and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to update you on my peach trees that I've grown from seed. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for sticking with me on this journey with these peach trees. It has been quite a bit since we've updated you on this series. You'll recall last year we actually were able to get a harvest of some fruits that we got from my oldest peach tree that I've grown from seed. And despite getting that harvest, we didn't have a lot of good fruit because we had a plum curculio problem. In this video today, we're going to go ahead and update you on that same tree. It is flowering yet again. It is now 5.5 years old, as well as update you on a couple of other peach trees I started from seed a year later that are now 4.5 years that I kept in containers to keep their size down. I'll also give you an update on my loring peach tree and the fact that it's got a little bit of a disease called gummosis going on, as well as my harvester peach tree that has produced really good fruit over the last several years. That being said, let me go ahead and flip the camera around. We'll go ahead and show you that first tree that is now 5.5 years old and show you the progress that it's making.
So I wanted to give you a pretty good look at this peach tree I've grown from seed. You can see that it's already got its blooms on. This guy is really tall, and I actually have done a pretty good job of canopying the bottom and trimming the top just to eliminate a lot of the height that was getting on this guy. Now, this is April 4th, and you can see the blooms have already opened. I don't see a lot of pollinators out, so I'm a little concerned that we're not going to get a good amount of pollination on these flowers, but the bees do show up when they need to show up, and I'm hoping that after the sun breaks out, we'll get some bees on these blossoms and maybe set some fruit. Now, you'll recall last year we actually set fruit, but I had a plum curculio problem, and I do have some sprays this year that I'm going to attack with that once these blossoms close, because it's not smart to put any spray on that could damage any of the pollinators or kill any of the pollinators once they come out, if they come out. Now, like I said, I needed to open up this base right here. I wanted to have a lot more sunlight in the middle. Last year, we had a lot of excess foliage. I did a poor job of trimming the inside of this plant, and it was just a safe harbor for a lot of insects and pests. And I have chopped about 4 feet off the top because this thing was getting too tall and I didn't want the fruit to be that high. So I did a pretty good winter pruning on it this time. I probably could thin up some of the branches here that's kind of congesting the middle, but I was concerned that I would eliminate too much fruit, and based on the number of blossoms, I don't think that's going to be a problem this year. My biggest concern is that this year I attacked the plum curculio problem we had last year so that I can get an official second year harvest that actually has edible fruit and not just parts of fruit. Now, we do have some late blooms or blossoms opening up, and that's a good sign since I don't see the bees out. So hopefully we'll set some late fruit if we don't get any of the early fruit set based on the number of bees that are out. For those wondering, this tree is about 12 feet tall now. It was 16, 17 feet. And if you're also wondering, I am aware that I do need to rake these rocks back at the base of this tree and apply a heavy mulch down here, which I do plan on doing in the next couple of days, since technically all fruit trees do enjoy getting their nutrients from the top part of the soil around the base of the tree. Anyway, I wanted to give you a good look at this peach tree I've grown from seed. It's now 5.5 years old, and I'm hoping we get more fruit this year. I do want to point out I've had a problem with my loring peach tree, and I believe this poor guy has gummosis. Gummosis is where you get some sap oozing from the bark. You get the bark sloughing off, and I've been picking off a lot of the sappy pieces and the dried bark pieces, and I do plan on treating this disease with some chemicals over the next couple of weeks and see if I can eliminate some of the problems. I'll tell you, I had to do a heavy pruning. I still have more pruning to do. I took off about 1/3 of all the dead branches, like you can see here. So I have a little more work to do, but I was afraid to trim too many off because some of the branches that I thought might be dead actually have survived and are putting on blossoms as well. I know the lighting's not the best. We have an overcast day, but I wanted to choose this day to film to give you guys a good look at what's going on. But yeah, this loring peach tree has more pruning to do. We have dead branches to take off, and I'm hoping I can cure the disease that it has, the gummosis, over the next couple of weeks through chemical treatments. I'm not a big fan of chemical treatments, but it's just not going to make it if I don't, as you can see. Anyway, moving on over to my harvester peach tree. This guy seems to always set his blossoms first. I guess he needs a little bit less chill hours over the winter, but he's already set his blossoms. They're already just about closed up, and he's already getting a lot of his green foliage on. Looks like we actually had the pollinators out on this one because it appears that we had quite a bit of the blossoms already addressed and pollinated. That makes me happy. And this guy is probably one of my better pound for pound producing peach trees that I've got in the yard. But this guy is no stranger to the plum curculio problem that I have, and I'm definitely going to have to keep an eye on it as well. But my biggest concern other than the plum curculio was to make sure that I've topped a lot of these trees. That one there, I've topped a lot of the height on the one I've grown from seed up here. And when you go back to my lowering peach, this guy I took a ton of height off of. I mean, matter of fact, I pretty much rounded out the top, took about 8 feet off because I wasn't getting enough sunlight in my garden beds in order to set fruit for my tomato plants. I do have a couple of more peach trees I've grown from seed I want to show you. This guy right here, man, this thing is 4.5 years old, and I've kept him kind of dwarf sized on purpose, but he's right around 7 feet tall now. And for his first 3.5 years of existence, I kept him in a small container, a little 1-gallon container, but I planted him in the soil last year. And to my surprise, a year later, he is setting some fruit, or at least a couple of flowers. And I'm hoping we get some fruit on these, but they're just starting to open. And it'd be cool to see if I have a second peach tree grown from seed that actually produces fruit and what kind it is. Again, he's in the ground now. I'm happy that I got him in the ground. He gets a little more consistent watering, but he's getting pretty thick. He's put on a lot of size, as you can see, compared to my thumb, in just the 1 year he was in the ground after being potted for 3.5 years. So I'm pretty excited about this little guy, and if we can get a couple of peaches off of this tree this year, or even one peach to see if it's different than the other one, that would be really cool. I do have one more tree I want to go ahead and show you. It's also 4.5 years old. So on this side of the yard, I have his twin brother from the tree I just showed you, still in the pot even after 4.5 years. And I'm keeping him in this pot for now because this spot has been the death spot for any tree I put here, but it's the only spot I have. Obviously, he's faced problems being in a container in the Texas heat, but he's survived somehow, and I'm hoping to tie him to this stake and see if I can get him in the ground here over the next couple of weeks and see if he can make it. Fingers crossed he does.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today's peach tree update. Again, I want to thank everyone for sticking with me on this series. I do plan on updating you guys on the citrus, the avocados, the kiwis, the plums, you name it, the apple trees and the pear trees, all of which I started from seed and all of which have some pretty good action going on right now here in the early part of spring. I also want to make mention that if you're new to my channel or new to any of my Grown From Seed series and you're enjoying them, to please consider tapping that subscription button and maybe hitting the bell notification so you get notified of when I put out new videos. And we're closing in on that 100,000 subscriber mark where I plan on having a little bit of a celebration with you all. Anyway, if you enjoyed today's Peach Tree Grown From Seed update, I'd appreciate that thumbs up. And as always, everyone, happy gardening and thanks for watching.